nor should it get easy, ever. And I really admire your courage and your strength to even stand up here and talk about what you've been through. For the few women who are able to come up and articulate what they've been through, imagine how many, probably hundreds of thousands, maybe millions, are suffering in silence. They will never talk about it for fear that they won't be believed, or they'll be blamed, or they'll feel like they're different from you and different from me. So it wasn't what I planned on saying, but just listening to all of you, and especially Sonia and Congresswoman touching on the fact that, yes, there is a war on women. It really is. It's been going on for a long time, and we have come a long way, and we have slipped a very long way. And thank God for the National Organization for Women. Thank God for the Violence Against Women Act. But as many of you touched on, it's not a sealed deal. It's not over, and maybe it will never be over. And so we need to keep speaking up. We need to keep taking a stand for each other. And I founded this organization 9 years ago. My mother is a survivor of domestic violence. And my earliest memory in my life is holding my little sister's hand and telling her it's going to be okay. And I was 5, and I didn't know what I was supposed to do, but I knew that I was supposed to know what to do. And my mother was being beaten on the other side of the bedroom door. And I heard her being thrown against the door over and over again. And I remember her screaming, "Don't come out. Don't come out." And I wanted to go out so badly because I wanted to protect my mother. But I had to also protect my sister. And there are, I guess, most of us in this work have experienced some type of abuse. I'm sure there isn't one person in this room who either hasn't had some type of abuse or doesn't know someone who's been through it. And that's why we're all here. Originally, End Abuse for Good was founded to reach out to women staying in the shelters. We work a lot with Safe Horizon. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing and for making my job easier. And we began going into shelters throughout the year with wellness events. I think it's really important that women who have been through violence feel that they deserve to feel good, just like the rest of us. It's a really important step for a woman to be told that she deserves to have her hair done, she deserves a massage, she deserves a hug, she deserves lunch, and she deserves everything that I can get my hands on to give her, whether it's shoes or perfume or diapers or chocolate, a lot of chocolate. And so that's how we began, but I noticed something, and I think that some of you will resonate with this. Every time I did an event, I had a great group of volunteers, and the volunteers would sort of pull me aside, and it's, you know, this taboo secret. I'm volunteering because I know a little something about this. It's always the same sort of shadow sentence. I know a little something about this. And they would come out and tell me their story, that they had been victims of domestic abuse, domestic violence. And very often, I was the first person they had ever told in their entire lives. And of course, I wanted to know, you know, sweetheart, why haven't you told anybody? Did you ever tell your mom? No, I never told my mom. Did you ever tell your husband? No, I never told my husband. Well, why didn't you ever tell anybody? It's the same answer. Well, I guess I just feel stupid. Does that kill you? Because it kills me every single time. And I say, honey, why do you feel stupid? And it's the same answer again. I feel like I should have known. Right? And I realized I had an aha moment after hearing this. I can't even count how many times. Yes, you should have known. But not by some divine instinct like you're really good at guitar or you're sort of a natural soccer player. That's not fair. How should you have known? Someone should have taught you what it looks like, what it sounds like, how to say no to it, why you should say no to it. How is it that we are expecting girls to know what domestic abuse is, how it starts. How many times do we have to hear, I really wish that I had known about this before? That made me realize I want to make that wish come true. And that is what drives End Abuse for Good and many of you in this room. Because just imagine for one moment what it will feel like and what it will look like when every child who goes to school has an education on what is healthy behavior and what is unhealthy behavior. What is okay and what's not okay. It's not okay to tell your girlfriend that she cannot wear makeup to school. It is not okay to make her take a picture of herself in the morning and send it to you to prove that she is not wearing makeup. That is not a sign of love. That is a sign of mental illness. How many times I've had to listen to girls stand up in schools, 200 or 300 14-year-olds, 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, share for the first time in their lives stories of abuse, of being stalked, of being humiliated, of being sexually coerced, and not being able to say to themselves, oh, that was domestic abuse. Instead, they've internalized it and thought, that was just a bad time, and I must have done something wrong. So, I don't blame anybody for their ignorance. I blame ignorance. I lay it at the feet of ignorance. Ignorance is tricky because we're not understanding that we're ignorant of something. When you're ignorant that you don't even know. My own mother, when I asked her just a few years ago, actually, Mommy, how come you never talked to me about what happened? I mean, I know what happened, but she never talked to me. She talked to me about sex. I'll give her that. I had a full-on sit-down sermon about sex and what it was, but she never talked to me about relationships or abusive men or how it starts. It always starts with charm. Over the top, I love you, baby, you're the best. Could you see yourself married to a guy like me after the third date? You know, my father was that guy. He is that guy. And I said, Mommy, how come you never told me? And she said, well, you're a smart girl. So I wound up in abusive relationships. Does that mean I'm stupid? I mean, did I lose my smart status by getting involved in abusive relationships? And I hear that a lot. I actually interviewed somebody, and what happened to her was so horrific, I can't believe she's still alive. You know, she was stabbed 57 times and almost decapitated. And she's a wonderful advocate now, and she's an advocate. And I asked her, in this story, her teenage daughter was in the house when this happened. I said, what have you told your daughter about this? What have you talked to her about it? And she said, oh, nothing. My daughter is very smart. Right? So I really believe in prevention. I think we can do this. I think that education sets all of us free on many, many different fields. And I'm sure that everybody sitting here can think of a time in their life when they did something or they said something, and after they got a little education, or they got woke, or they got some information, they thought, I wouldn't have done it. If I had known then what I know now, and that's our mission at End Abuse for Good, and I know with a lot of you here, is to make sure that it becomes standard. Why would you even think about it? You send your children to school right when they're learning 2 + 2 is 4, to learn what it means to be in a healthy relationship, how to generate their own self-esteem, how to generate their own dignity, and expect and accept nothing less from another person. In that way, I feel that we could end abuse. So, in the back of the room, please take one when you leave. There's this little pamphlet, Share the 8 Before It's Too Late. It's shocking to me how many people open this up and look at it and say, every single one of those behaviors occurred before my abuser hit me. It is the 8 early signs of abusive behavior not including violence. It saddens me to say that some people don't even consider violence to be domestic abuse unless it's a gunshot, or you're stabbed, or you have a scar to show for it. That's not true. I think I would really like to end this one saying, even if you feel afraid of what somebody will do to you, that's domestic abuse. That's good enough. So please pick one up. And above all, I think that we all need to give ourselves the same compassion that we're talking about giving to victims. Everyone in here has been through something. And I think that compassion starts with ourselves. So I would ask you all to just take a moment and realize that where you are now is not where you were then, and who you are now is who you are now. And you deserve the same love and compassion that anybody else does. Thank you for letting me speak with you. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Aryn. Thanks for sharing. And yes, we are